you are going to need to remember. That is the name of Freedom Works. As you saw in the opening credit, the organization Freedom Works did in fact help us. In fact, they were a major contributor to this film. And Adam Brandon is the Executive Vice President of Freedom Works. And I want to personally thank you. I don't know if I've ever done this on a public stage, but I want to personally thank you for the involvement of the organization and our president, Mr. Matt Kibbe. And let's give him a round of applause. I just want to say for and we'll never truly be the country that we could be. So tonight, for the next few minutes, we're going to talk to these young men, to these men, and I say young men because I'm probably the oldest guy, except for you, Harold. But I'm probably the oldest guy up here. And as I look around, I'm fastly, Jane, I'm fastly becoming one of the oldest guys in the room. But just the same, I thank you so much for coming. We expect you to be here with us for breakfast in the morning. Star Parker is going to open tomorrow morning for breakfast.
Hey.
You do not. I'm going to be here with her, and I really would expect each and every one of you to be here. And then tomorrow night, tomorrow afternoon, in the closing session, Deneen Borelli is going to close out this session for us, and in between that, we have so many different ones. We have K. Carl Smith at lunch. We have, K. Carl, where are you? We have Dr. Tim Johnson, Tim over there, who are going to be having their own various group discussions and seminars that you don't want to miss. Be a part of this history-making at-large conference. Tell your friends to get ready to be with us next year because we're going to need a bigger room. I promise you. Thank you so much. Gentlemen, each one of you say your name so the folks know who you are, and then also we can test your mic, and then we'll go on with that.
I am Wayne Dupree from Cambridge, Maryland. I think I'm probably the only one in here that was born or that was raised 7 miles from where Harriet Tubman was born and 15 miles away from where Frederick Douglass was. So I'm sort of like in the middle.
All right. My name is Charles Thomas. I'm born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Also had an opportunity to live in Texas and New York, so my travels. Thank you for your vision and passion.
Thank you, Charles.
My name is Harold Williams, and I'm a small business owner here in East Baton Parish, and also former chairman of the local party. Welcome to that.
I'm going to ask these gentlemen first, starting with you, Charles. What should the Republican Party pursue the black vote, or is it something we should, I'm fading in and out, or is it something that we should abandon? Is this something that we are we beating our heads against the wall? How would you say that?
I definitely agree that we have a one-sided loyalty for any group of people. Again, it makes you take it for granted on one side and kind of go by the other. So I don't want to see that as a black person. I definitely think it's a necessary endeavor to make sure we do everything we can to invite more black conservatives and more members of the black community to understand how conservatism will benefit not just the black community, but everything. I definitely think it's worthwhile and necessary.
And I want to ask the audience, anyone, if I can see your hand, keep in mind I have two blinding lights in my eyes, and it might be hard for me to see you, but I want to see if there's anyone who might feel that it's a lost cause to even try and pierce the black community. Is there anyone out there who might feel that way? And if not, what do you think? Do you think that this is an effective way to do it? Anybody out there? Anybody have a comment on that? Don't be bashful. Yes, sir.
First of all, I'd like to say I just embrace everybody here. And I do like the thought and the saying that we are Americans, not Black Americans, and not Hispanic Americans, not white Americans, but Americans. I just thank the Lord that y'all are here, Brother Brian.
Thank you. God bless you.
And I don't want you to separate any way, shape, or form from the Republican Party. I've been a Republican since national service, when Dave Truman just got elected. And if there was only one issue separating me from the Democrats, that would be abortion. That's not the only thing there is, but that, if we got down to that, I am totally not for abortion. It breaks my heart to hear the statistics that are read, and I'm just still trying to sort of fulfill. I thank the Lord for you guys.
Thank you.
Everybody that's here, I appreciate it.
I see your hand as well, sir.
Yeah, my name is Roosevelt Mudd. I'm from Okaloosa, Louisiana.
Okaloosa.
And I couldn't get brainless and I was going to Washington Parish. And I just want to make a confession is that I came here having no idea what this movie is about. I never said it, and I think the reason I hadn't seen it, in my mind, it's going to be another version of a jingle. And I give you this, when you say how we should possibly get the house better, is that I am a registered Republican, but I'm more concerned with just getting the information out there to people and letting them make their mind up quick where they want to go. And as I was sitting here watching this, there's so much of it that I have been talking about off the chest for years anyway. And I just can't wait to get a copy of this when I leave here and start exposing people in my community to it.
I'll be autographing copies after the show.
Okay, and one last word is that to show you how bad we need to do that, is that just about everybody in my community has offered me a copy of Jingo that's floating around. Everybody's seen that.
Yeah.
Nobody, including me, has seen this.
Yes. Yes, and Django was actually offered or nominated for an Academy. We did win. This is a Crystal Dove, which is the Christian version of the Academy. We did win the Crystal Dove Award for Best Film and Limited Release. So we have that kind of props. But this is a film that widely overlooked by Hollywood, as many are. Let me ask you this, Wayne Bree. Are Republicans chasing Democrats further and further to the left? And if so, why?
Yes. The more that I watch from where I am, I see more of the young kids today really demonize individuals, really demonize the Republicans because they want to fix things. They want to fix the environment, or they want to give the truth. And the tribalism that I heard on the screen, and I never heard that. I haven't heard it like that before, but it makes so much sense that they get defensive, that they don't want to hear that truth, and they hold out and they hold together, and they bring up these different insurance cards, and insurance cards mean so many insurance cards, racist insurance cards, selling strategy insurance cards, anything to not hear the truth. And so when Republicans are saying, okay, we want to come and help, or we are for limited government, racist. We are for personal responsibility, racist. Every time there is something that is, I feel, that is helping America, they're pulling back. They're pulling back hard, especially with the kids of the day, because the kids of the day are more angry. The kids of today are more angry, and with more anger comes savagery. And as black conservatives, we are getting attacked more and more for even the smallest thing that we say.
Well, let me ask you, Harold, why is the word Republican, why is the word conservative such a horrible word when mentioned, and if you were chairman of the committee of the party here, you must have been vilified for being a black conservative Republican. Why?
Well, for the lack of knowledge, when I became knowledgeable, I became a Republican. Once I understood and I started reading and understanding what this political system was and how it is, I became knowledgeable and I turned to the Republican Party. Now, the thing is that what we have to do as Republicans is make sure that we go into the black community. We got to start identifying people in the black community, in the urban areas, to run for office, push those messages out there, push those platforms out there, get it out there. I'm from the black community. I was born and raised in the black community. I have a small business in the black community. I've hired 17 people, 250 over 15 years. Right now, I'm employing 17 people, and all black males wearing uniforms. We have to understand that we have black conservatives in the community, but we have to start identifying them so we can put that message for the Republican, for the conservatives.
Very good. How many of you, be honest, when you saw in the movie there that John F. Kennedy, Lyndon Johnson, voted against the 1957 Civil Rights Bill of Dwight D. Eisenhower? How many of you knew that? A lot of you knew that. A lot of you didn't. How many of you would agree that Republicans are very bad at telling our history, telling our story? How many of you think that if we were to tell our story of the conservative party, the party that has stood for the rights of man, even the very first plank in the Republican Party's formation, how many of you think that that would have some kind of positive impact upon the psyche? Then why don't we tell our story? Tell me this: why are we so complacent as Republicans? Why is it that we're so afraid of being called names when we have the truth? Somebody please help me with that.
Media.
The media. We're afraid of being vilified in the media. Anyone else?
My name is Reverend Carl Clark. I'm also from Washington Parish right now. Watching the movie, what I saw was a lot of sound bites. You can do a lot of sound bites. They do it on media all the time. You're asking about the Republican Party. The world now is becoming more blended than black and white. So if you're reaching out to a black community, it's time to reach out to a blended community, because almost every one of us has an interracial relationship in our home today. So when you start getting the sound bites and you talk about the Al Sharptons and the Jesse Jacksons and things like that, and you show them in a negative image, that's one of the reasons I think that the Republicans may not be doing the job that they should be doing, because we're always vilifying, to use your word, the black leaders. There are other leaders out there as well. If we start realizing that this is a more of a blended world than just a black and white world, if we stop taking sound bites and using for our own acceptability, back to terms, then we can see what we're doing. I like my gentleman said, I had no idea. Something pulled me here. And I told my wife, I'm going to go see what's happening in Baton Rouge. So when I moved to Baton Rouge, I don't know what the system is. Right now, the system is that we need to start thinking about being more blended than more black and white. Because if you're with your own family, I'm sure where we're from, you've got the same situation. Let's stop trying to make it a black and white issue. Let's stop using sound bites as who's better than whom. And I don't think that's what it is.
Very good. Let me give you an idea of what my life has been like. Stand up, Jane. 38 years. 38 years. She is the mother of my 4 children. And we just had number 10 grandchild, CL3. When you talk about blending, I'm the former president, NAACP, Garland, Texas. I've seen both sides of the street. Jane and I have traveled the entire world, lived all over the country. I've pastored 3 churches, multicultural. In fact, when Jane and I show up anywhere, it's integrated.
That's right.
So I understand what you're saying. But I think you may have missed something in the film. The gentleman said that Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson, they're not the enemy. They're the opportunity to plant seeds that can deal with what you're talking about. And so there are many people who have seen the film 5 different times. And the reason they did that, because every time they saw it again, they saw an answer to your question. I thank you so much for bringing that up. Yes, sir. Woody.
Yes, sir.
Woody Jenkins.
I'm Woody.
Louisiana political royalty.
Harold was the chairman of the Republican Party in East Baton Rouge Parish, and I'm his successor as chairman. And so he and I have actually talked a lot about how we can widen our view. And let's get away from black and white for a second and talk about how we can widen our view of all people. There's some ways that you can change people's ways of thinking. Of course, if we believe in liberty, we have to be able to change some ways of thinking. The greatest way normally is when a person makes a personal change in his spiritual thinking. If he becomes a Christian, for example, he's likely to make a real change in how he looks at everything. So we think a spiritual conversion is one of the most important things.
Very good.
When a person gets married, often that will have him or her look at things totally different. When he has children, that will make him begin to look at the world in a different way. But one of the things we've talked about is the role of entrepreneurship. And it's touched on in the film. But when a person goes into business for himself, he begins to look at the world in a different way. I actually was thinking about this. I was at a conference in Los Angeles, and after it was all over, I had an opportunity. There was a janitor. There was a Hispanic man who's from Mexico. He was a janitor. He and I got to talking about America. And I got to saying, to me, one of the great things about America is the ability to be in business for myself. And he says, that's what I want to be. He says, I want to be in business for myself. And I got to thinking about that. Most people who come to this country, most people who are downtrodden, what they really want to be is their own boss, to stand on their own 2 feet. Right. And I think if we can find ways to promote entrepreneurship, it answers a lot of questions and it solves a lot of problems. You may have not had a father in your home, but you learn to be responsible by serving your customers, and by having to have capital on the line and having to work hard. So I want to promote the idea that we should promote entrepreneurship as a way to get more Republicans and to get more people who believe in liberty.
Charles, what do you say?
I definitely agree. One thought that I was having was around the deception of liberalism and progressivism is crafted in such a way that it goes to a very emotional level to the people that are being deceived. So now when you engage discussion, you're reaching to a point of being almost a block because it's just irrational. You can't have a rational discussion about conservatism or what's best for people. And I think in many ways that becomes the temptation for someone to give up. And I think that becomes now a problem. When you start to say, oh, you lost cause. Short-handed. I know there's other times he'll do that. He'll say, oh, you lost cause. And, it's funny, and to some ways it's I'm not saying there's truth to it, but I mean, again, I don't want to get comfortable with the idea that because we hit those emotional core blocks that's preventing a rational discussion of this, that you're lost cause. Again, you can continue that opportunity to sow seeds. A lot of my experiences in engaging those discussions, the more I'm able to remove the emotion from it and just really force to be about listening about this logical, about the accurate history of things, then it actually at least brings the discussion to a point where either it's a pause of, okay, we have nothing to counter that with, and so I'm just receiving it, and then, it's kind of there, or...
So we need to give more ammunition. We need to give more ammunition to those type of things. Wayne, let me ask you this. We've heard two gentlemen relate to us the black and white of it. Why is it, and I have an answer for that too, but I want to hear from you, and I want to hear from you all out there. Why is it the focus on the black and the white? Even though America is a very homogenized society, why is it the black and the white? Why is that the main focus of your opinion?
You know what? I'm sorry that you asked that question. Because when my father was alive and he was a pastor, we didn't grow up in that type of separation. So we didn't look at it as black and white. We did. We went to school with all types. So when we fell down or when we had a fight or when it was just against another kid. So when I hear the black and white, that's an obstruction to hear the truth. That's something that's saying, okay, well, we want to, we don't want to hear it, so the Republicans are white. They're the white racist party. Well, there's blacks. Oh, well, they're just bald. They're just bald. Well, what made you say that? Well, I heard it. But they don't have that truth. Going back to something that Charles just said just a while ago. I want to Harriet Tubman for a reason. Harriet Tubman didn't see black or white. Well, actually, let me say this. Harriet Tubman, there was no emotion with what she was doing. The only thing that she said was, if a whole lot of others would have saw that they were slaves, then she could have freed them. But she didn't force them. She took those that wanted to go, but she couldn't take everything.
Tim, there's something that you say in the film about what Frederick Douglass said about the Negro. What did he say? What did Frederick Douglass say?
Well, just in case I got cake crawling the person between two of us, we'll figure it out. Frederick Douglass made several, I think, important statements. One in particular says, the Negro fails, let it fall. And his attitude was a simple one, that he's free now. He has an opportunity to do all those things that supposedly the American dream is about. And if he doesn't go out there and do it, then don't sit there and say you have to pamper him. He did not believe, Frederick Douglass did not believe in the welfare system as we have it today, and he would not believe in it. Frederick Douglass was very much so ahead of his time. And I think that's something that we need to be talking about as a community each and every day. That our forefathers, when we start talking about slavery, and we start talking about the status of our families back right after Reconstruction in that period, our families were much more unified than they are today. And Frederick Douglass understood that. He understood the speaking. And, as King Carl and I go around talking about different things throughout the country, really the essence is, he said that I'm a Republican, not because the Republican Party was so great, but it was a party of liberty. It was a party of freedom. One of the things that I think that we have to get back is that inclusion message that has to be out there to recognize that the Republican Party has to go in opportunity. For those of you that are leaders within the Republican Party, I need you to say this. As a former vice chairman for the North Carolina Republican Party,
The first one, the first black one ever in history.
thank you. We have a golden opportunity. But it is sick and tired, or people are sick and tired of hearing our conversation. They're ready to see some action. And this inclusion conversation that everybody wants to have, from the chairman all the way down, this guy knows. We need to be doing some things that's for real, that's serious. We don't need to go to more meetings. We don't need to have more conferences. We need to make sure that we're elevating those individuals who pay their dues and pay their price and continue to speak on behalf of the Republican Party and the conservative values that we say we believe in, and let it be a living testimony, not just words on our mind.
Thank you.
That's what Frederick Douglass is really all about.
Tim, if you would bring the mic to K. Carl. K. Carl, you said something in the film that is very profound. Why is it black folks recoil from the word conservative?
Thank you, CM, and for the vision putting this documentary together. I just got to give you my testimony on that. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
You're not. I don't think so.
You're on. He's on. Can you?
Okay. You know, one thing I mentioned in the film is that this whole word conservative. You got to be very careful when you use the word conservative because number one, as Republicans or conservatives, we're losing the propaganda battle. So when you say conservative, that word has a negative connotation, especially in the black community, not just the black community in this country. It means racist. And what I was alluding to in the documentary, it was racist Democrats who wanted to preserve the doctrine of their racist fathers who wrote the black codes, Jim Crow laws. So here comes Republicans. We're using the same word. Now, I don't advocate we don't use them. Make sure your definition of conservatism is understood by those who you talk to because they will see you as a Bull Connor type of conservative instead of a Frederick Douglass conservative. And the wall goes up. And that wall is there. So what I've learned in my own personal experience, when I use the word conservative, when I go out and engage, I'm discrediting myself because of the propaganda battle that we're losing. So what God has given me in lieu of that, I'm a Frederick Douglass Republican. And when I say that, because that is an oxymoron for many folks, it gives me a chance to engage, then explain my definition of conservatism and let them know I'm not a Lester Madness type conservative. I think that's key.
Star, if you take the mic to Star, please, K. Carl. You said something about demagogues. It come in. What did you mean by that? Would you just explain?
At that particular point, I was talking about people who changed the message, who changed our journey as African Americans. You know, listen to that.
We can see it.
I wanted to answer the question about the focus on black and white, if you don't mind, because it does break down politically. And in fact, African Americans are the only people group that, as Woody was talking about change, as change occurs in their life, whatever that change is, whether it's tragedy or something positive, we change. But blacks have not changed. And blacks are the only people group that go to church on a regular basis and still vote against their values that they learn on Sunday morning.
Come on now.
Other people groups, when they go to church on a regular basis, they vote Republican.
Yeah.
So you have to ask yourself, what's the problem? And I think somebody mentioned earlier, one of the biggest problems is on the economic front. Although we live the values of the left, if you will, and you look at the data, and I'll talk about it tomorrow, but economically we're in trouble. 25% of the black community has a direct relationship with government. We take care of them. They're either on welfare or they're retired on Social Security and their own source of income. But in addition to that, government is the #1 employer of black men. We are disproportionately dependent on government. It's the second largest employer of black women. And that's the reason that I believe that more blacks don't vote for limited government. 19% of the black middle class is working for people.
That's amazing. Deneen, you said in the movie, Sarge, you hand the mic to Deneen. You said in the movie they don't want y'all the plantation. What do you mean by that?
I think really what the message needs to be driven home to all Americans, but especially to those in the black community, which is why we are here, is the importance of economic empowerment for people to be individuals and for people to be self-sufficient based on their personal work ethics and desire. And to look at history, we have to teach history. I think Kate Carl does a great job talking about that. There are other individuals in the movie who talk about it. Get off the labels of Republican and Democrat. Where do you stand in your community? What are your schools like? How are your children learning? What are the crime rates? Average incomes among Black individuals are down 11%. Unemployment is high versus the rest of the demographics in the country. These are the issues we need to talk about. Energy, school choice. These are the issues, and let the individuals decide and think on their own. There are some you're not going to be able to reach, but there are many that we can reach. I used to be a Democrat. So I was a Democrat because I didn't know the difference between who did what, Democrat, Republican, liberal. Stay away from the labels. Talk about the issues. We want to empower people. That's what it's about. And then when people think for themselves, make their own decisions, let them decide. I can talk about my personal experiences and tell people how I got to where I am today. And it had nothing to do with government. So that's my message.
Thank you. Now, back to the black and white issue, because gentlemen have brought up some very important issues, especially the gentleman back there. He brought up a very important issue. America is much more homogenized beyond black and white today than it was 50 years ago. And that's where I want to come to this point. I left the NAACP because of a personal conviction in my faith. I could not bear the thought of being the head of an organization that was being directed by its president, Dr. Benjamin Hooks at the time, to speak to a pro-choice rally. My choice has nothing to do with Freedom Works or anything. That was my personal choice as a minister of the gospel. However, during that point in time, with the head, the Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan, his name was Scott Patrick. He was the Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan in Texas. He was the head honcho of the Ku Klux Klan in all of Texas at the time. This was the late 80s. Scott Patrick was the Grand Dragon. He and I were interviewed by a fellow by the name of Robert Ashley, who's still on radio in Dallas and a great entrepreneur there in Dallas to this very day. The magnet schools in Dallas, Texas happened under my presidency as president of the organization, the NAACP. So there was something good that came out of it. But the reason I bring up Scott Patrick is this. After the interview, Scott and I talked off the air. Grand Dragon Ku Klux Klan, president of the NAACP. And we agreed to meet. We did meet. And at that time, in the late 80s, Texas, Louisiana, the South was a little bit different than it is now. Scott and I got a chance to talk very earnestly, candidly, alone, as two Americans, two different worldviews. And one of the reasons that it's still a black and white issue actually stems around something that he said. He said that the wounds that our country experiences came from a time when we were struggling over an issue that involved black and white, Republican and Democrat in the South. And it was something that was just between us. It was something that was uniquely American. And yes, the country has become more homogenized. But one of the reasons I'm so proud that this conference is happening in my home state. Let me see the hands of the sons and daughters of Louisiana. The reason I am so proud that this conversation is taking place in my home state is because I believe in our next movie, Red, White, and Black, will deal with the nuance between blacks and whites in the South. And anybody here in the South, black or white, you understand what I'm talking about. There's a certain relationship that blacks and whites have in the South that Northerners don't understand. We're going to deal with the psychology of that. If you like Runaway Slave, you're going to lose your mind when we come out with red, white, and black. But let me tell you something. That is why we're still dealing with those two words politically. Because the division in this country happened over those two races. And the healing must start from people who understand how we got over it. And Southerners, you know this. For the most part, we have healed. We know how to deal with each other. We understand each other. We eat the same foods. We believe God the same way. We enjoy a lot of the same things as Southerners that people from above the Mason-Dixon line don't understand. But they have an opinion about it. And so, since the division came here in the South, I believe that the healing can start here in the South. What do you think? You're Harold, you're an entrepreneur. Why is it more black people aren't? What is what's the motivator? What's the demotivator? What do you have to say to that?
Well, I go and talk to schools all the time. I talk to the children in the community. I have a nonprofit, Louisiana Business Community Alliance. One of the things that we push is for the change of the mindset. When somebody go and ask a child, go and talk to children, the common question is what you want to be when you grow up. What we ask, the question is the same question, but it's a little different. It's what kind of business you want to own. And the child would answer the first one, quick, want to be a basketball player. The second question that I ask, they have no idea. What kind of business you want to own? So I just equate being a basketball player with owning a team. Being a pipe fitter with owning the plant. They can own a plant. They can fabricate. They can own a refinery.
Back of what?
A man owns a refinery. And they can too. So we have to change our mindset by the message that we implement in the schools. One of the things that me and Charles talk about a lot is technical education. A man can learn a skill with his hands right out of prison and go into own his own business because he has a skill. He can market himself. But it's a slave mentality that's being implemented in the community, in the prisons, in the schools, that's causing them not to be able to think that they can own this hotel.
Wow. Wow. As we draw to a close tonight, again, I want to thank you. Yes, please. Yes.
There's somebody here that I don't know if you've met or not. He's our Mayor Pro Tem of the city of Central. And I think what you're talking about right now, he could really add something to it. That's Ralph Washington.
Come on. Mayor Pro Tem.
I just want to thank you. Over the last 3 months, I've been struggling with something. I am a Democrat. And I've asked myself this question, why? Why? Why?
Did we get that on tape?
We just got it.
And I've got my answer tonight of why, of what I need to do. And I want to thank you for that. A real quick story is when I was growing up in a rural area of St. Parish, I was in 5th grade. And my math teacher, she asked us, what do you want to be when you grow up? And one of my friends said, I want to work at the bus station. And at that time, she said, no, you don't want to work at the bus station. You want to be able to drive a Greyhound bus. Well, I took that a step further, because when I went to Southern University, I would pass by the chemical plants. And I always wanted to say, you know what? I want to work in a plant. But I don't want to be an engineer. I don't want to be a pipe fitter. I want to be able to run a plant. After finishing school, I did enroll, I did find me a job in a plant. And what did I do? I was in charge of 9 chemical plants, a 33-mile pipeline, and I ran the plant.
Wow.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, I want to piggyback on what Tim said.
yes.
I'm also a gentleman from a rural area of Central Parish. My name is Dwayne Bailey. I was blessed by God to have the opportunity last year to run in the last minority district in Louisiana, the 2nd district, congressional district. And what Tim was saying was that there's a golden opportunity out there for the Republican Party to actually draw in more black voters. Everywhere I went along this river, campaigning, presenting myself, presenting the party, presenting our views, I got great reception from the African American community because their values are our values. That golden opportunity we can't waste as a party. How are we going to get this message that you guys, that we all want out there? Well, the candidates are going to have to bring it. And the candidates are those people who are sitting in this room tonight. So if we're going to actually bring this message forward to the African American community and get this thing turned around, then the Republican Party of Louisiana is going to have to legitimately support these candidates. So when I leave this at-large conference, and I think Christy and the staff have done a beautiful job of putting this on, and we need to give them a round of applause. I leave this at-large conference tomorrow. I need something tangible to leave with. I need some structure. I need some committed support. And I need all you guys to support me. And I pledge to support all of these candidates out there. We can do this thing.
We can do this.
If we work together. Because I believe that this is the time, right now, for us to have this vision move forward.
Fantastic. Yes. Make it as brief as you can.
Absolutely. My name is Austin Stevens, and I'm speaking to you as a friend and a fellow Republican for many of you. This is my best friend, Josh Lawrence. We grew up together since we were 14 years old. And before tonight, he'd always been a Democrat. And he moved to Baton Rouge many months ago, and we've had some heartfelt conversations. And we got down to the roots of it. And Josh, is there something you want to share with everybody?
Hello, Josh.
I'm from Lafayette, a couple of miles down the road, and through lack of education, you know, like you were saying, I was a black guy growing up, black community. I'm be a black Democrat, you know. But in all essence, you know, it took me. I've been out here a month, and like he said, I've been on him for the past 15 whatever years, and we would always. I've accepted him for being Republican. I'm not the political type of guy. You know, I was always Democrat. Don't try to change me. That's you. That's me. I'm black. You white. I love you for being white. You love me for being black. Then we started talking this last month that I've been here, and you know, we share a lot of the same views. All right, well, I didn't understand, you know, because that's how I was raised. I was a product of my environment. It wasn't that I was dumb or any less of a man because I was a Democrat, just because I wasn't taught that. As a black man, my dad, hey, you go in there, you're 18, you go press D. You know, it wasn't nothing about, hey, make your own choices, read and actually, you know, do some research on what you're voting for. You know, that's your livelihood and your children's livelihoods that's at stake. So as of tonight, I guess I'm a Republican.
Tell the story. Yes. Yes.
I just had a phone call and I had to go outside, so I'll try to make this real quick. You asked, what is it we do to get people to think our way? Well, like it never happened, Servpro just had a major fire at my house last week. And one of the guys that's there in the cleanup is from Monroe, and he's active politically. Anyway, of course, he's probably a moderate left-leaning Democrat. But anyway, my wife just told me he can't wait for me to get home Saturday so I can tell him what went on at this event.
Thank you. I'm sitting in a mind brief. I see Pastor Shannon right here. Don't miss either one of their presentations tomorrow. I saw one more hand. I can take one more. Yes, sir.
I'm usually not too short-winded, so I'll try to make this quick. My name is Tony Boudreau. A lot of my Republican friends here are getting to know me through the last few years, and I want to challenge everybody.
You're on.
Yeah, we were. I want to challenge everybody, and we're talking about this thing about opportunity and about knowledge, as Harold has said, about what we want to be. And I want to share a personal story. Last I checked, I'm white. Okay? And I grew up in a middle-class family. My father was an engineer. My mother was a housewife. We had 4 kids. We weren't rich. We weren't poor. My dad worked hard. And I think my personal experience is a reflection of the community and of the overall black community. Not because I was black or because I'm white. And that had nothing to do with it. But my father was an engineer, and I loved him dearly. I had the good fortune of having wonderful parents. I was just with my mom today at a funeral, and she's 90. But I love my father, and when I grew up, he was a hardworking, white-collar guy, but he wasn't upper crust. He didn't hang around with the wealthy or the influential. And I had a worldview. I had a worldview just like anybody else had a worldview. My father was an electrical engineer, and when it came time for me to go to college, which he stressed, I want you to go to college, I want you to go to college. I went to college, and I didn't know what I wanted to study. But all I ever saw in my sights was my father. He was an engineer, so I became an engineer. I practiced engineering for 16 years. I had a good job, good pay, and 18 years ago I decided to change careers because my world had opened up. My world had opened up, and I got to know different people of different experiences, business people. I got to know people that ran their own businesses, and people that were wealthier, people that were poorer, all different colors, races. You know, the world out, I'm 56 years old. The world today is not the same. You know, we didn't have Asian people. You know, I grew up in Gretna, Louisiana. I always had black and white kids that we went to school with.
That's who it was.
Yeah, it was. We were everybody. But my worldview was limited. And when it opened up, and when I started seeing that the wealthy guy that ran his own business, that was a multimillionaire, put his pants on one leg at a time, just like I did, all of a sudden that became a possibility. And I think really, when we're talking about whether we're an elephant or a jackass, or whether we're a conservative or whatever, when we start putting those labels on and we start hiding behind them labels, we lose it. We just need to get together.
Yeah.
We need to get together and spread who we are and how it works. And the people in our community are going to start seeing that. We got to live and lead by example.
Very good. Thank you so much. And there is also a young man here on tomorrow, Ryan Baumberger. Stand up. Let me tell you something. His story is incredibly compelling.
Yeah.
Do not miss that. Bring somebody with you, sure. Gentlemen, in 2 minutes each of you, I want you to wrap up. I'm going to start with you, Wayne Dupree, the doctor of Twitter. Go ahead.
Well, I thank everybody for being here. I thank Christy and Scott for connecting with me a couple of months ago. when Bishop Doctor, when he says of Twitter, I love social media. Actually, today is the 1-year anniversary that I began my website, newsninja2012.com. And 1 year ago, well, actually last February 17th, I was having an argument with a liberal on Twitter, and Andrew Breitbart jumped into the argument and told me that he liked my fight. And not only did he like my fight, he would be there wherever I needed him to be. And coming from someone like that saw what I was doing, it changed me, because he passed 2 weeks after that. Then he passed away. But my fight got harder and louder. And like I said, today is my 1-year anniversary. Since last year, my website, newsninja2012.com, 2.2 million unique views based on the information that I have researched with the history, the true history of both parties. And the thing about that is they want to know. People want to know. They love hearing the new truth. It's that we just need to get it out. Same thing for Facebook, same thing for YouTube. I'm just glad I had this opportunity to finally meet my pop and my mom, my son. I appreciate it.
So, and then to go to New York, and New York's a great place for people, but the system, the way things operate there, I mean, I always feel like I just don't have my freedom. I just felt, people trying to tell me I gotta put my trash out a certain way or I'm gonna get fined. And it's like, well, I know it means to put trash out so that it doesn't scatter. That's it. But you don't have to find me $100 just because, it's just those little nanny, trying to micromanage your life instead of give you a freedom to live your life in a good way. So just having those experiences when we move back home and as we get to be more vocal about conservative through those experiences in different places, I've also become a little more concerned with how we reach the black community. I also have to think of the black community as more than one type of black voter. Because I think a lot of my experience when I talk about dealing with liberal debates and stuff like that is from my generation, from people that I know, black kids that are going to college, professionals, or just middle class. That's the demographic of black people that I'm really engaging in that discussion with. So that kind of sets my perspective of how I reach the black vote. It's been a little different than say, a lot of houses work with a lot of low income in the black community. That's a different way. Same value system that used to be, same concern for our country across the board, but it's just in the same way you got different types of voters in the other race, same as that.
Absolutely. And Harold.
Okay, CEO, I want to thank you for the film. I looked at it, saw Rock Hill, South Carolina, and like I told you before, that's very close to home. Even though I am from Baton Rouge, my family is from South Carolina, and I am a product of the football experiment in South Carolina. Sure you're familiar. So deep down embedded within self-sufficient. And that's one of the things, my number one platform I go out to the communities is to teach self-sufficiency. I try to make sure that I'm doing that in a way that on the ground, grassroots. So I encourage everyone to, we can talk right here, we can be inside the walls, but we really need to get out and outreach is one of the things that I'm big on. Not the talented 10, but the needy 90. Those are the people that we're talking to.
Yeah.
And we tell them it's more about a silver right than a silver right. Economic power.
Very
Get
good.
involved in the community.
Thank you so much. And last but not least, Tom Morelli, stand up. When I say when I say when he comes into the room, there's the smartest man in the room, Tom Morelli really is one of those guys you could say that about. Tom, what are you going to be talking about tomorrow?
Well, first I want to thank the CL and at large for the event tonight. I think it's great. And I was just whispering in Dean's ear about, a comment that I was thinking of making. And that is, it's really all about principle. I mean, you heard Reverend C.L. Bryant, when he didn't change, the NAACP changed on him. And then he felt the principle to move. At Freedom Works, we're taking on the Republican Party because we no longer respond to what our principles are. So you have to take over, as our president and the CEO says, you have to first take on the Republicans before you can take on the Democrats. If you're a black and you're a Democrat and you're wondering what's happening to your team, we got two choices. Leave them or change from within. Either is a good choice. But the most important thing to do is maintain to your principles. And you and I often talk about this. You have to be a sports fan. Imagine maybe some Saints fans, right? I mean, when the Saints win or lose, you're either happy or sad. But unless you're betting on them, you're not losing money. Your family is not being harmed. So you have to take the loyalty thing to a certain point or principle. It's about your principles and which team you want to be part of. You can join a new team, or you can try to change the team that you've been part of, but it's all about the principle. And that's what I like to leave you with tonight.
Thank you so much, Tom. Senator from Alabama, thank you. With these are the final words I'll leave you with. Evan and I were talking a couple of hours ago now. I mentioned something to him that I want you to take home with you. I want you to think about tonight. Harold, Charles, Wayne, they all talked about empowerment. When Christy and Scott and I first talked about doing this, we talked about empowerment. Janine, Freedom Works, has empowerment.org. Go there. Empower.org. Go there. Empower.org. Go there. You've seen these young men on the street corners selling crack. You've seen them in your neighborhood, not your neighborhoods perhaps, but you've driven through neighborhoods where you've seen these young men doing that. With the ideals that we hold as conservatives and Republicans, there is a different way of seeing them. They can be entrepreneurs. They already know about taking risk because they do it every day in that chosen profession, even though they look over their shoulders. They know about what it is to take over another business, sometimes even hostily. They understand the free market. They understand capitalism. But yet somehow they didn't turn out to be any one of these guys. Or me, or Adam, or Tom. They turned out to be street hustlers. Most likely won't make it to the age of 25. We have the keys, as we always have had, to driving that individual who has that God-given, as our four founders said, given by our Creator, that certain something, that inalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You heard this young man's story here. If I was with Sean, he'd say it in Hannah. Now Rushy would say that he'd want him over to our side. And I want to thank you for your words tonight, and all of you. But I hope that we take from this room tonight this one thing. Republicans, conservatives, all we have to do is tell our story about the greatest nation that the world has ever known.